All right, welcome back in. This is the Tech Territory podcast presented by the Fifth Quarter Sports Network. We're excited to come to you for our first actual episode. We're recording this on Tuesday the 8th, about 8 o'clock. I suspect I'll have it posted probably sometime Thursday afternoon, so I think that'll be the 10th. So I think how we want to start, we kind of want to give you a little bit of just what, I mean, everybody listening to this knows, but just kind of what happened the first, what are we, 6 games in? So we'll give kind of like an overall broad view of the first 5, and then we'll talk Stanford a little bit, because that's fresh in everybody's mind. But Josh, yeah, if you want to go ahead and just kind of give us a little 10,000-foot view of what happened the first 5 games, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think the best way to start talking about I just realized I corrected you. We are 6 games in. I thought we were
Yeah.
3-2. I try to
But
blank my
we
mind out
got
of
we got
Miami
5 that are in the past now. We got, and then the
Yeah.
6th is just this week. So
Yeah,
that's
what
I was
put the
with
pile
you.
up
I was
for.
with you.
Yeah, I think the name of these first 6 games has been coaching errors and dumb mistakes. I don't think a lot of these errors lie on one specific coach. I think it lies on the group as a whole. I think that overall the coaches have been pretty good. And realistically, it's been 1, maybe 2 plays in all 3 losses that the Hokies have that have lost those games. We could very easily, if 5 plays go differently, be a 6-0 football team ranked.
Oh yeah.
Well, we'd be top 15 in the country by now.
Oh, yeah.
With a win over a top 10 Miami, we'd be probably top 10 in the country.
Yep, I'm with you on that. Been a few plays and a few just decisions that haven't went our way. I don't remember exactly at this point some of the coaching decisions and Vanderbilt and Rutgers, namely, that went wrong. But yeah, in the Miami game, those couple of, I mean, just the field goals, like calling a timeout with 25 seconds left in the half, kicking that field goal, and then Miami going to kick one, and then the fake field goal. Like you get those 6 points, it's a very different game at the end. But Chase,
I will die on the hill that going for the fake or going for it was not a bad move. We should not have faked it. We should have just given the ball to Tootin.
I agree with that entirely.
Because he was just gouging Miami.
That was my thought entirely. I have no problem. I don't particularly have a problem with even the fake field goal, but yeah, if you're going to go for it, give it to Tootin or give it to your 230-pound quarterback. Like what are we doing?
Yeah, and if we're running a fake field goal, why are we letting Parker Clements be the end-all be-all blocker? I mean, the PFF says that's not a terrible idea, but PFF is what's a good word here? Not great.
Yeah. Chase, what has been your thoughts on the first 5 games so far?
Frustration, honestly. I think as a fan, this has been a very frustrating start to the year. We have the talent, obviously. Coaches, I mean, it goes to. I mean, I love Brent Pry. I mean, I do. I think he's the guy, but I think he needs to start making some decisions. It's our coaching staff as a whole. I'm a little frustrated with. You said it earlier, Josh. Like, we're 5 plays away from being 6-0.
Yeah,
we have the talent. Like we have the talent to be 6-0, and we're not. We're 3-3. It's beyond frustrating.
Yeah, and you look at those 5 plays. We're probably 10 plays away from being 6-0 with nothing but 2-score wins.
Sure. I mean, you go back to Miami. Look at the end of the game. Look at the clock management. It should have never come to that last play. That last play was shouldn't they should never overturned it, obviously. But I think my frustration lies is we were up 2 possessions and we blew it. What happened to the Hokie team that knew how to close? And I think there's a frustration of our coaches and look, Pry's never been a head coach before, so I understand he's still figuring things out, but he's in his third year, and I'm
He's been a head coach for 2 years prior to this, so I think that you have started to run out of excuses for he's a young coach. You can look at the whole staff and say that, because there's not really a veteran coach on this staff, a very long tenured coach. We had, I can't think of his name. Who got hired away by Notre Dame? The offensive line coach that we had year
Rudolph.
one.
Joe Rudolph.
Joe Rudolph. He was probably the oldest coach that Pry's had here. Unless I'm forgetting somebody. Crook's not young, but we don't have a real veteran presence in the coaching staff. And you say you need that in the locker room, but maybe you need that in the coaching staff too.
Kind of what I've thought is it would help them a lot. I don't know. I admittedly don't know how it all works with on the field and who can be on the field and who can't. But to hire a game manager coach, just a Jerry Kill type. I know Jerry Kill wouldn't do that. He's an offensive coordinator at a good school now, but a Jerry Kill type older guy that just gets it, and that's his job. When do we call timeouts? When do we go for two? When do we whatever? I know that probably should be the head coach's job, but I think Brent Pry would admit, and I think we all know, that he needs help in that particular aspect. So or maybe he brings in an offensive coordinator that's a 65-year-old guy that's been around that maybe, I don't know, we'll see.
And hell, maybe you go get some kid off the street my age who grew up playing Madden and knows how to manage a damn clock. It's really not that. That he's made mistakes. I don't know if it was abysmal against Miami. I think there were rule mistakes. He thought the clock stopped running apparently after Felton went out of bounds.
Was that
so? That's where we lost. That was on the last drive when they said his forward progress stopped.
Mm-hmm.
We probably lost 30 seconds there because he didn't realize the clock was running. Just like against Old Dominion in 2022 when Ollie Jennings caught that pass and it was called pass interference. He thought the clock stopped even though they declined it. Just got to pay more attention there. Yeah. Now the timeout 25 seconds is goddamn inexcusable. That was bad. That cost us 3 points, and also Cole Nelson being on the field could have cost us 3 points.
I was going to say, Chase, what would have been your thoughts on the double number deal?
Inexcusable. It happened twice. He got away with the last time it happened. He got lucky. If you saw, there was a video that surfaced somewhere on Twitter or X or whatever it's called, and basically the guy behind it was mouthing. You could read his lips. He was saying, "Look, there's two guys on there with the same number," and Pryde's just kind of like, "Oh, I love Pryde. I'm not shitting on him, but it's just like, come on." It gets to a point where you need to figure this out. And I know he's in his third year, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating. It happened again, and he got away with it. But it needs, at some point, he needs to start figuring it out because it's going to get old.
And I'm with you. I'm with you entirely. I think for Virginia Tech football, you've got to have a Brent Pry type. Obviously he's recruiting well. He's evaluating talent very well. If you look down his transfer portal additions, even his recruiting class, his first real recruiting class, I don't remember the 3 year ago one. I don't put too much stock in. It was kind of his first year, but the 2 year ago one, it's got dudes all in it. His transfer portal, he doesn't miss. If he's gotten 20 guys, 17 of them have been studs for us. And in my opinion, you've got to have that blue collar go to work type of guy at Virginia Tech, because you're not going to get your Nico Iamaleavas to come to Blacksburg. You're high flying receivers, quarterbacks, those big showy guys. They're going to Miami, they're going to Alabama, they're going to be showy. You've got to get guys to Blacksburg that want to pick up the lunch pail and go to work. There's a reason that the lunch pail is such a big thing in Blacksburg. It's because it's true. There's not. Yeah. I don't know. Everybody's been to Blacksburg. There's not a whole lot going on outside of town limits in Blacksburg. So I think Beamer had it right. Like, defense is first. Like, that's, you've got to get those go to work type of guys to come to Blacksburg, and I think Brent Pry's doing that. He's building that. He's taking more time than we all want, but I think he's building a great foundation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want him going anywhere. I think he's the guy for us. I mean, obviously the players love him. You know, everybody wants to play for him. I mean, I'd run through a brick wall for that guy. I mean, he's the guy I want. I need to start seeing some improvement, I guess, as some coaching decisions, and I think he'll get there. But like you said, we got to be patient and, you know, slowly but surely.
Yeah. So Josh, how long is the leash for you? Like, how many losses will it take to outweigh the good recruiting, the player retention, the good guy? Like, how long's the leash?
Are we talking this year?
For you, whenever it is.
I think if you fail, I love Pride too. I think if you fail to reach bowl eligibility somehow, now I personally, I think we're winning out. I've got my hopes back up high after the Stanford game. After we see Vanderbilt go beat Alabama, at least we took Vanderbilt to overtime. I mean, I'm running through a brick wall for Brent Pry, just like Chase said. If you fail to make bowl eligibility this year, I don't think you keep him around. And I think that if you don't see 8 wins, including a bowl game this year, then you start to have the conversation.
I think in my mind that puts him on a hot seat. I'm with you though. I don't know if I've got my hopes up for winning out, but I think anything short of 5-1 would be kind of a disappointment. Like we've seen coming to the end of the schedule last year and this year, what Pry can do against mid to bad teams.
And I mean, Stanford. You look at
all that's left is mid to bad teams, other than Clemson. Who comes to Blacksburg. In my mind, if the team plays like they did the last 2 weeks, we win the next 3 games against BC, Georgia Tech, and Syracuse in that 30-10 range, comfortable, no problem. I think we've got the talent to do it, and I think our talent will outplay the coaching in those games, honestly. Like, I don't think there's much the coaches can do to hold the team back. Go ahead, Chase.
I think Syracuse makes me nervous a little bit. I mean, it's at Syracuse, but I see the next 2 games. Getting bye week, getting back into a Thursday night game at home against Boston College. I think we right the ship, and I'm not even going to have the conversation of, if we don't make a bowl game, because there is no reason we should not make a bowl game. I mean, we need three more wins. Like, if we don't make a bowl game, sure, I'll agree with you, Josh. The guy should be gone, but I don't think that's even going to happen. I don't see that happening at all.
I think that Pop Watson could start and we still make a bowl game. I'm not even joking. I mean, it definitely flee. I mean, you look at UVA, Duke, Boston College. I don't think any of those teams are any good. Georgia Tech is talented. I don't know how well coached they are.
We struggle with them. We've always struggled against Georgia Tech.
I know. I'm aware.
Option, Georgia Tech,
that was more triple option, and same with Syracuse. Though that was a thing when we were in the Big East. Always going to what's it called now?
I'm so the Carrier Dome.
Yeah, I'll just call it. Yeah, we're just going to call it Carrier Dome. Other than 2016, none of these players know or have a tie to any recent kind of struggles for Virginia Tech in the Carrier Dome. I don't think that playing in the Carrier Dome is a big factor like it used to be. Like the fact of you can't win or we can't win there no matter what we do. 2016, I entirely blame on the head coach. I'm not saying his name. Just because I want to blame it on him, even though it might have been the Carrier Dome. But I don't think the Carrier Dome's a big fear for me. this year. Especially Syracuse, I don't think it's very good either.
And in my opinion, with that, like, I know we're Virginia Tech fans, and we've been hurt because we have lost a lot of games we shouldn't have lost. But all of these teams have looked like all the teams left on our schedule have looked flawed, and I mean like they've lost. Syracuse has lost to Stanford. Stanford's not a good football team. Georgia Tech, they've lost. Who'd they lose to? I don't. Y'all know off the top of your head who they lost to?
I can check. Hold on, I have it right here. They lost to Syracuse and Louisville.
Yeah. And then Boston College just lost to UVA. Like UVA, I mean UVA, they're playing decent football right now. Don't get me wrong, but they're not good. and they just beat Boston College. With a healthy Castellanos, however you say his name. I don't know. I just at least the next three, I'm pretty confident about. Now,
well, I don't know if you watched that last game with Boston College where he looked horrible. I mean, he made some dumb decisions against UVA. I mean, they completely choked. I mean, I don't know how to say his name either, but he made some just stupid throws. And I honestly, we play him next, and I think we rattle him big time. I
don't think he can handle Lane Stadium. It just sold out a couple hours ago. I don't know if you guys saw that. I don't think he's handling Lane Stadium. And then you also look at, I mean, Duke is Duke. I don't know, in all honesty, I don't know if they win more than one more game. I don't necessarily think Manny Diaz is a bad coach. Duke's roster, even under Mike Elko, was abysmal. Mike Elko is one of the best coaches in college football. Duke's roster is not very talented.
Yeah.
They will not be able to stop the run. And you can even look at a team like Clemson. This is where I have some confidence is when you look at Clemson, they have had a lot of trouble stopping the run unless you look at the Florida State game, and that's Florida State. But they gave up a lot of yards on the ground to Georgia, App State, NC State, and Stanford. I don't know how well they handle a guy like Bashal Tutin, who I think is, I mean, I not even think he's one of the best running backs in the ACC.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think we're 6-3 going into Clemson, and I think that's a big game. I think that's a very high
6-3. You've won 4 in a row. You're bringing Clemson into a sold out Lane Stadium.
Yep.
I think that as long as this team doesn't get in their own heads, it's an absolutely winnable game. Just like the 17 team did when Clemson came into town. I think if you can stay out of your own head and stay focused in on winning the football game, that's a winnable game.
Yeah, absolutely.
It comes down to our defense. I think if our defense continues to improve, I'm with you. I think we can win that game. But our defense is we're getting better.
So that's kind of what we got on the season so far, what we think of the season moving forward. What about the Stanford game? I know that's the one that's fresh in everybody's mind. Chase, what you have for thoughts on that?
That was a weird game. I don't know about you guys. It was a great game. I'm not complaining, but it was one of those. It was just bizarre. I think 14-0 at halftime. Like, we got some good breaks, which we haven't really. I felt like this season we haven't gotten the good breaks. They go down there, miss a field goal right off the bat, and we score, and they fumble at the goal line. Like we got those breaks. We got those really good breaks that we were able to kind of go into halftime with a comfortable lead, and we held on. But it was fine. I was shocked how empty that stadium was. I just have to say that was bad. That was embarrassing. But I was a little nervous, going out to the West Coast and the time change, and I didn't know exactly how we would show up, but we showed up pretty well, and it was the win that I think we all needed to see going into the bye week. and I felt good about it. I think we're getting better. That's for sure.
Yep.
Yeah,
Josh,
absolutely.
what'd you have about it?
Um, I I mean, I love what we saw. I mean, you can look at the Miami game, and we moved the ball very well, but we didn't do a lot of what we did last year. Even up until this Stanford game on the offensive side of the ball, you didn't see all the smoke and mirrors, the misdirection, and you saw that against Stanford, and you saw it work, and that brings me a lot of hope because I think they realize like, hey, this is still working, and they'll go back towards a lot of what they did last year that made this offense so. There's no better word to use than unstoppable in the second half of the season.
Yeah. Um, I was very happy with the win. I love to see it. One thing about Pry or Bowen, I don't know who it is, who does it, but so Will Stewart tweeted something to a similar vein. I wish that they would just keep the foot on the pedal. Like they got up 3 scores at the end of the game, and the last quarter and a half was just hand the ball off, dink and dunk here. Like I want to. You're fighting for national relevance. You're fighting for recruits. A lot of people just look at final scores. Like let's beat Stanford 45-7.
Yeah.
Like
that's exactly why I think we have a hard time closing out games. I think we play conservative sometimes, a little defensively. I agree right there. I think we should have just kept rolling with it, and I mean we did fine. Like it was fine. Like it was all good, but it was Stanford. Like I mean Stanford's really not good. Um, but I honestly think we have a hard time closing out games. And I'm with you. I wish sometimes we could just step on their throats and kill them.
And one thing I'm afraid of long term, say we do get up 3 scores and then go into this super conservative mode. Well, you throw an interception, they do an onside kick out of nowhere. All of a sudden, you're up 1 score with 8 minutes left, and you've got to go get a touchdown. Well, you've just packed it in for the last quarter and a half. What if it's not there? All of a sudden, we lost the game. Like the Miami game, I don't think they packed it in. I think Miami is a good football team that just started. I don't blame that loss on a conservative play calling late in the second half. It would be against a Stanford or Boston College or something where some fluky stuff happens, and all of a sudden in 3 minutes your 21-point lead is now 7, and then all of a sudden you've been lackadaisical for a quarter and a half, and you can't go get another touchdown. And let's win a game 45-7.
Well, I don't know if you guys noticed, but that Miami game, Bowen called a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Which
yeah.
Like, where was that the first 3 games? Like it's Bowen. Bowen called a great game. I was pleasantly surprised. Like he was drawing up plays, like kept going, like, and I just wish we saw a little bit more of that early on. I think it again another kind of slow start, but he's turning it around. I'm not crazy about Bowen, but
he did the same thing last season. They started
Yeah.
They started slow. Everybody was like, "What are we doing? Screenplays on 3rd and long? Like what the heck?" And then
realize rent's due.
Yeah, halfway through the season, they start lighting it on fire and start beating the crap out of bad teams. I mean, you run into a good Florida State, good Louisville, and a good NC State team last year. But we shouldn't have the offensive line to play with them. But yeah, I mean, even in those games, the play calling was there. It's just we just didn't have any time to do anything. So yeah, it's like why the last couple of games, I think very highly of Tyler Bowen. I think he can do it. I think he's got good creative plays. He knows when to call the right plays. But it's like, why are we waiting until game 4 or 5 to see that?
look at all these other teams. Like, do you see all these other teams that are top 10 teams doing that to start the year? No. Like what? Why are we taking so long to? I mean, it happened last year. We turned it around, and it's the same. And that's why I'm so frustrated. It's like we should be 3-3. Why did it take this long? And we're going to turn it around. I think we're going to turn it around. I think we'll go 8-4. I think we'll be fine. Like, I think we'll get better. But it's just, gosh, I wish we could get off to that start. Even 5-1, like 5-1 to 6. We should not have. That's why I'm so frustrated. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you look at um, yeah, as an individual on the offensive line, we don't have a great offensive line individually. Ron Crook is a fantastic coach. Arguably, a lot of people disagree with me because Parker Clements, specifically Joe Rogers on Twitter, good friend of mine,
He's
disagrees
horrible.
with me because Parker, I love him, man. He's great. I worked for him for a little bit at over at VT4L. But you look individually. A lot of people don't like offensive line. You look Parker Clements, Bob Schick are the two top culprits of people don't like him. But Ron Crook is a fantastic coach, and this offensive line is very, very good, at least at running the ball as a group, or at run blocking as a group. And we also, at the same time, have one of the best running backs in the country. I see, sometimes when we start moving the ball, we then start to get away from the run for a little bit because we think they're softening up. They're tightening up and bringing guys into the box, and they're not. Then they stop and pass, and this is what happened against Miami. We kind of got away from the run very late in the game. Now I don't blame them because Miami did bring an extra guy into the box at points, or bring an extra guy down close to. But we just run the damn ball. I mean, we have a fantastic running back, a fantastic run game. You look at the PFF grades. I know I was dogging on PFF like 20 minutes ago, if that. We don't have a game where PFF grades our run game as below average, below the 60.0 threshold. And you have 2 where they grade us above 80, and then 3 that are in the high 60s.
Yeah. Do any of y'all know what the deal is with Montavious Cunningham?
Is he hurt? I from what I know, he's
expected
just
him to be
not
like
that
a
great.
day one starter when they brought him in, and I assumed he was an older guy that was like like an Aeneas Peebles type of guy. But
Yeah,
it's clearly wrong. He hadn't really cracked the depth chart too much yet.
yeah. I'm starting to worry that you look at Clayton Frady last year. Maybe this room coaching staff is not great at scouting the offensive line out of the portal. Because the offensive line is such you have to coach it in such a way that when you bring a guy from another staff who's been dealing with, like Montavious Cunningham, I believe has been dealing with the same offensive line coach for 3 years at Georgia State. He's going to a completely new offensive line scheme.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure Clayton Frady was just terrible. But you look at a guy going into a brand new scheme. That's why, you see these guys, you see Leif Gannum, you see Brody Meadows. They were freshmen, and they might not be better as offensive linemen than Cunningham, but they know the scheme very, very well.
Yeah, sure. Offensive line recruiting is the one that I put the least stock into. Like, I've seen too many 3 stars or no stars be really good offensive linemen all across college football, and there's plenty of 4s and 5 stars that don't end up being very good. I am not one that thinks that stars in recruiting don't mean anything. I think they mean a lot. I would go out on a limb and say they mean very much less on offensive line recruiting than anything else.
Yeah, you look at just when you are recruiting the offensive line, I mean, the coaches tend to more look at the raw talent and athleticism than they will the production, because it's such a stark difference between high school and college football on the offensive line. I mean, you just have to find a guy who's coachable.
Yep. All right, well, that's kind of our thoughts on the Stanford game there. We had a huge week nationally. Chase, what are your thoughts on any of the games from last weekend? There was definitely a few that stood out above the others.
For me, I mean, I obviously know what Vandy did was crazy, but I watched the Missouri Texas A&M game, and that honestly didn't surprise me. I mean, I knew Texas A&M was getting better. I didn't think I think Missouri is overrated, but that was I didn't expect them to get clobbered like that. That was one of the big ones that I watched.
There might be a storm brewing down there in College Station.
I'm
There
a
might
big.
be. Like I said, Mike
I love
Elko
Elko.
is a
Yeah.
I love
great
him.
coach.
Yep.
I think they're like I swear maybe I hope I'm not jinxing them. I think they could do something this year. I think they've gotten better each and every game. Like you can just see they've gotten better and better. Elko's a great coach. Texas A&M just ran the ball all over them. I mean, it was Missouri. They made Missouri look not good. That was an embarrassing loss.
They've got all the money in the world. They are consistently top 10 recruiting classes, top 5 more times than not. Fan base has been described as a cult, which, I mean, I would want to go play for that if that was me.
Absolutely.
One of the best stadiums in college football, and now they have a coach that can coach a little bit. Yeah, I absolutely think there's a storm brewing down in College Station, and they're going to be a force. I don't know about this year. I do think they could make the playoff, but I don't know if they've got much for Texas. There's a couple of Texas, Ohio State, Oregon might be in that conversation. I think the cream of the crop is kind of separating itself. We're seeing kind of the good teams get ahead of everybody else, but I definitely think Texas A&M could be right there in that next group.
Yeah, a game that really, really stood out to me. Arkansas made Tennessee's offense look dormant.
Yeah.
For the first time probably since Georgia did it to that 2021 team. Or 20, what was it? It was 22. And I mean last year you've seen bad offensive performances from Tennessee. The quarterback was not Nico or Hendon Hooker. Joe Milton, talented, not a good quarterback. But that Tennessee offense looked unstoppable for 5 weeks, and then goes into Fayetteville and scores 14 points.
Arkansas has a pulse. They're a little bit better than everybody thought they were going to be. But yeah, no, I don't remember if I bet on it or not, but I would have taken Tennessee in the points no matter what the points were.
I'm so high on. I was so high on Tennessee. Like I thought they were legit. Like I thought they were gonna sail into the playoffs, and I was shocked by that performance. I mean, no disrespect to Arkansas, that was a great win. They're a good team, but I really thought Tennessee was like legit. I really did.
I did too. I was right there.
And something I said the other day is just about every good team over the last decade or two, because parity has gotten closer and closer, goes through a hell game against a team that they shouldn't, and those good teams win that game somehow. You look at Ole Miss against Kentucky. You look at – go ahead.
I was just saying, I tweeted that very thing. Now with NIL and transfer portal, like I know it's got its problems, but you're seeing upsets more now than ever, and I think it's entirely because your 4- and 5-star guys that were 3rd or 4th on the depth chart at Alabama are now transferring to Arkansas and to wherever else, and those teams are getting better. The good teams, they don't have the depth that they used to have, and I mean we got Antoine Powell Ryland. Like before the transfer portal, we never would have got that guy, and he hadn't broke through the depth chart at Florida. I mean he played, but he wasn't like their number 1 all-star guy. He comes here and is immediately a superstar. Like Florida would have loved to have him. They probably love to have him right now, but
oh yeah. Well, Florida would love to have a lot of things.
Yeah. Yep. Chase, any more games come to mind?
Not really. Other than there's one team that I think is just kind of quietly flying under the radar, and that's Indiana. I mean, they went to Northwestern and just. I mean, Northwestern's not great by any means, but they got a good defense. I mean, they put 41 points on Northwestern. Indiana is. They're one of those teams where if you look at their remaining schedule, with the exception of Ohio State, I think they can win every game left. I mean, Indiana is sneaky.
They've got Nebraska at home, Washington at home, then at Michigan State, Michigan at home at Ohio State and Purdue. Yeah, I'm with you. That
I mean,
looks like an
right?
11-1 to me.
Michigan
You're looking
is
at a sneaky
yeah,
Ohio or
absolutely.
Indiana at Ohio State college game day,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
would be beautiful.
I got Indiana 11-1. I maybe I just jinxed it, but Indiana they're good.
What did y'all think about that Miami and Cal game?
I fell asleep when it was
I did too.
35-10. I
I
went
did
to
too.
bed and I got woken up by like 6 or 7 phone calls from people I know all across the country. An old friend of mine who was at the game, my dad called me, and then a couple people who I know off of Twitter and some of my friends called me, and like they're all at the same time telling me, "Dude, why the hell did you go to bed? Miami just won."
I uh
And
I made it till about 10 minutes left, and they were up like 20. And something had just happened. Like, I was like, either Cal had scored again or Miami just punted it or something. And I was like, I'm going to bed. This is over. And then, I woke up the
yeah,
next morning like, what in the world?
yeah. After I didn't even make it that far. After Cam Ward threw that, I mean, I'm a huge Cam Ward fan. I think he's going to do great things at the next level. He's incredibly talented. Once you put pressure on him, he tends to throw to the wrong team or make a stupid read. Once he threw that pick, which was genuinely maybe the worst throw I've ever seen come out of a college quarterback, decision making wise. You all know what throw I'm talking about?
I didn't see it. I've heard people talking about it, but I didn't see it. I don't remember it.
He rolls out to the right, and I mean, and looks for a guy back over the middle, which is automatically a throw you shouldn't make. But he lofts it, and it's a 5-yard throw, 5-10 yards down the field, but just lofts it into triple coverage, and it gets housed the other way. I mean, it was a horrible read. After that, I went to bed. I was like, yeah, Miami has nothing. This game's over. It's not worth keeping on. And I was proved wrong. There was also a little bit of ref ball, which
that targeting, I don't know if I agree with what they ended up
yeah,
doing.
after it happens 2 weeks in a row with Miami, maybe you look into that. More media will have their eyes on it. Because, I mean, the Virginia Tech against us, I mean, that Hail Mary, it was a bad call. I don't want to say that, like, the refs were protecting Miami's undefeated record, being the only one in the ACC. But after it happens 2 weeks in a row, you start to think maybe the ACC is actually trying to keep that team undefeated.
Yeah. Chase, what were your thoughts on the Miami call? Now we brought it up. What did you think about it?
So I'm not even going there. I'm not even doing it because Miami, they number one, they piss me off more than, with the exception of UVA. Like I hate them more than any other team in existence.
I hate them more than UVA.
I just no. It was awful. Because if I get talking about it, I'm going to sound like I'm putting together a conspiracy theory, and I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
My thoughts. I think the correct call was made. I do not think you can overturn that when the call on the field is a touchdown.
Oh, we're talking about the one against us, not the.
No, yeah, I was talking about the one against us, not the targeting
against
Cal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I meant. The one against us. I think the right call was made. I think Brent Pry kind of said the same thing. No matter what the call is on the field, you can't change it. Like,
yeah,
there was nothing to show either way.
Absolutely. Once you make a call on the field, you need indisputable evidence, and the explanation is what really stuck with me. A Miami player out of bounds touched the ball when it was loose. Felton had already. I think the wrong call was made. I think Felton had caught the ball. It was a matter of if the ground knocked it out. The Miami player touching the ball when he was out of bounds, that was after the ball. That's just after the play was completely over.
That doesn't matter. I agree.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And
he's already in the end zone.
And then the targeting call with Cal, I think that is egregious. Like,
that was bad.
Forcible contact to the head or neck area with the crown of the helmet. Like, that's how it's written.
How do you review that? I don't understand how you review that and walk away and say, no, I wasn't targeting. Like, it's
and most targeting calls in college football are judgment. Like, you see, like, fan bases clashing over it. This was textbook. You lead with the crown of your helmet, whether you hit him in the head, whether you hit him in the chest, whether you hit him in the stomach, that's a targeting now. And whether or not, do you think it should be? That's what the rule is. And not calling that is really, really embarrassing on the ACC refs part.
Did either of y'all, I was asleep, I didn't see it, know exactly what the situation in the game was at that time?
It was 3rd and 16, I want to say.
Game was over. I mean, yeah.
Game was over. If they call that targeting, Cal gets a first down. I believe the 30, which is in field goal range, which makes it a 2-score game if they hit a field goal with 4.5 minutes left, I think.
Gotcha.
It was over.
It doesn't end the game. Yeah, it doesn't end the game, but it makes it damn difficult for Miami to have a chance.
Yeah. They would have been. Looks like they would have been up 9 if they'd have kicked a field goal. They would have been up 9 with 4 minutes left, 3.5 minutes left.
Yeah, let me check the game log, see when they punted. I can pull it up real quick.
And for the tech one, when the guy in there is wearing what looks pretty damning like a Miami shirt. It's that's pretty.
Yeah.
Pretty bold.
Yep. It's back-to-back weeks. That's all I'll say. It's ironic.
Oh man, there was 1:50 to go. The game is over if they call that.
Yeah, they would have run the clock out.
Wow.
They would have ran the clock out. I was under the impression there was a couple minutes left. I thought I watched the highlights after.
Yeah,
I woke up. Yeah, the game's over if they make that call.
So worst case scenario, they go up 9 with 1.5 minutes left. That's if Miami has 3 timeouts. Yeah.
Again, it's the same thing. The game is over if they come out and say, "Look, this play, it was targeting." They didn't do that. They did exactly what they did the previous. They came out of there and they reversed it and kept the game going. That game was over.
Yep.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say about Tech, we haven't had a targeting all year. I think that might have something to do with the fact that Jalen Stroman's not playing.
It's been hurt.
But Mose Phillips also hasn't targeted anybody. And I don't know if you guys have seen his high school mixtape, but he really likes to hit people hard.
I'm really high on our young guys in general.
I am too.
Dante Lovett, Reddish, Mose Phillips, the Thomas fella. They're
Thomas Williams.
Caleb Spencer and the other Caleb.
Caleb Woodson.
Yeah.
I'm incredibly high on Caleb Woodson on the defensive side of the ball. As well as I don't know how much eligibility he has. I think he has another year. James Jeanette, I was really high on. It makes me sad. He's just not been able to put on the weight.
He's like
since he got here.
Amari Barno type guy, right? Like
he's insanely athletic. If he finds the field next year, there'll be a team that like Barno falls in love with him and just drafts the athlete in like the 4th round.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, that's kind of last week. Let's look ahead to this week. We're at about 45 minutes now. Are there any games? This is a big week in college football. I went out and picked 5 for our picks. We're going to pick Texas, Oklahoma, Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, USC, Ole Miss, LSU, and Cal and Pitt. Are there any games other than those before we get to our picks that stand out to y'all?
Let me take a look.
I got one.
What you got?
Let's hear it.
I got Kansas State at Colorado. I think we're gonna look. I don't love Colorado, but I'm really curious to see what Colorado does. I think they're 4-1. This is a big game for Colorado. I mean, if Colorado wins this, it's at Colorado. I think. I'm really curious to see what happens there. If they win that, then everybody's gonna kind of be like, all right,
You're looking at a ranked Colorado
you know,
team, yeah.
What do y'all think
yeah,
of the? Do y'all try to watch the late games?
I try
yeah,
to, and I normally do. I just did not want to stay up for that Miami game. It started at 10:30. That was stupid late. It should not have started that late.
Yeah,
That was
I
also
love them.
there's another thing. Miami should not be forced to play on the West Coast that late. That's 1:30 local time.
Yeah,
Um, for a start time, and that game probably didn't end till what at the earliest 1:30. Um, or that's 10. Or that game probably doesn't end till 1:30 local time for
yes,
Miami,
yeah.
or
So it
probably
start
closer
it
to
would
2
have it started at 7:30 in California.
in
So
Cal. Yeah,
starting at 10:30, the time that we're on, the time that Miami's on. So yeah, it finished at probably 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning for the Miami players. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we didn't get it this year. I want to say next year we play at Cal, if I remember off the top of my head. I'm looking forward to Tech playing
yeah.
in the
I think we
10:30
bring
game.
Cal to Lane.
Is that right? So then we might not get
It
even
might
have
be.
a shot at the 10:30 game. I'll look it up.
Who? All right,
I think
but
Tech will.
is it? It might be. The game that stands out to me is South Carolina and Alabama.
Yeah,
I'd like to see how Alabama responds after losing to Vanderbilt.
I agree.
I've already seen a lot of Alabama fans. Like I said, I'm from South Mississippi. Half of my friends are Alabama fans. Um, a lot of them want DeBoer gone immediately, which I think is a vast overreaction. He's an incredible coach as well. Um, I think it's pretty big to see Alabama respond at home against a decent at best South Carolina team. I mean, you want to see a 3-score win there from the Tide.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's pretty well covered the notable games other than the ones we're going to get into. So yeah, let's get into our picks. I don't love how I have this sized, so I don't know. Can y'all see that? No, y'all can't see that at all. And sharing my screen would get kind of weird. So the first game we
It is
have
Cal
is
at home.
Cal at home next year.
It's
and
Cal
then,
at home and Miami at home too. So
and
we don't
then
have to travel too far,
and
other
then
than to Atlanta and to Tallahassee. 26
we
is
go to Cal.
at SMU, I think.
No,
Do we go
that's
to
at
Cal?
And
No, it's at
26.
Cal. Yep.
Yep.
Oh man, we don't play SMU
We don't play SMU until 20
till 27
Yeah.
at SMU. Well,
Yeah,
that'll
and
be interesting.
we'll get into this. We should probably save this for like December, but next year's schedule is intriguing.
Yes, it is. It's even nicer than this year's looked.
Yep. All right. So our picks. First off, we have Texas minus 14.5 versus Oklahoma. Our over under is 49. Do y'all have the Google Doc pulled up where you can see what picks you made?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do.
Sweet. I have it up here on the screen, but yeah, it gets, since I'm in this other program, it gets weird when I try to share my screen. So
yeah.
So Chase, what do you got for that one?
I got Texas, and I got Texas covering. Oklahoma sucks. I think good defense. They're not going to do anything offensively. I think Texas clobbers the crap out of them. They're going to win big.
Yep, Josh.
I have Texas minus 14.5. But I also really like the over under at 49.5. I think Texas might go over themselves. Yeah, this Oklahoma team is not good, and Texas is Arch Manning playing or is Quinn Ewers? Does anybody know?
I don't know. I can look and see.
I think either way, Texas could go over by themselves. If not, I think Texas probably wins this game 35-14. But I think it's entirely possible that you look at a Texas, 52-21 win or something like that.
It does.
I think a really good parlay would be to stack Texas spread in the over.
Yeah. It does say ESPN headline: Horns expect Ewers to be ready to start versus OU.
Awesome.
I took Oklahoma plus 14.5. I like Brent Venables. I kind of wish at some point he was Tech's coach back in all the shifting around. I don't know if I'd want him now, but back then I sure did.
He was the guy that I wanted, or he was
Yeah.
one of the two. I really like Hugh Freeze too, which thank the Lord we didn't hire him.
Yeah. I mean, thank Lord we didn't hire Venables. I'm happy where we are with Pryor right
Yeah.
now. But I got Oklahoma 14.5, mostly just so we don't all pick the same thing. I probably think Texas is going to win by more than 14.5, but for this, I'll take Oklahoma and the points.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got a shot to keep it close.
Oklahoma's
it's
definitely
at
got a shot to keep
Oklahoma.
the points.
Is
it not in the Cotton Bowl?
Where did it go? It is. Is it at the Cotton? It is at the Cotton Bowl. So it's a.
I was going to say it's been at the Cotton Bowl for a long time.
Yeah, that's right.
And given that it's at the Cotton Bowl, it's entirely possible that, and it's also the Red River. Is it the Red? Is it still the Red River Shootout, or is it the Red River Showdown?
I'm calling it the Shootout. It's the Red River rivalry, which I think is a dumb.
Okay.
It's really hard to say. But yeah, I'm going with Shootout because that's a better name.
Yeah.
For it.
But it's one of the infamous rivalries in college football.
Yes.
Tempers flare. It could absolutely bring out a close game, and Oklahoma could definitely win just out of the,
fact there's a rivalry.
Just out of the rivalry. Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, one of the infamous rivalries in the sport.
Yep. All right. Next we'll go to Cal versus Pitt. I wanted to throw one ACC game in there since we don't have a Virginia Tech game to pick. Chase, who'd you have here?
I'm going with Pitt. I honestly haven't watched a lot of Pitt this year, but 5-0. I think it's at Pitt, right? Yeah. I think
yes.
It's in Pittsburgh. Yeah. I'm going with Pitt. I don't know. I think Cal's a good team. I don't know. I think Pittsburgh has really, kind of surprised me. I don't think a lot of people thought that Pitt would be 5-0, but I think they're going to keep it going. I think they'll find a way to win. They've found a way to win a close one against Cincinnati. They've won a couple of close ones, but they've been able to find a way to win, and I think that's why I kind of went with them.
Yep, Josh.
Since it's at Pitt, I also have Pitt minus 3.5. I do disagree with Chase. I don't think this is a very good team. I think it's a lot like Boston College last year. They have a very easy start to their schedule. You start 5-0. I think they start 6-0, maybe even 7-0. They don't have a tough schedule at all. I think if you put them in a tougher spot, like a common or a tougher ACC schedule, you're looking at a 6-6 team. I'm not so high on Pitt, but I think that this team with their schedule could go honestly as high as a 9-3 or a 10-2, which is really weird to say about a team that I don't think is very good.
Yeah, I've been surprised by both Cal and Pitt this year. I thought they were both going to be kind of doormats, and I mean, just for Pitt, I mean, yeah, they haven't really played very many good teams, but just the fact that how they're able to come back at the end of games, I think that's
they really do well at the end of games.
It showed me more of a pulse than I expected them to have. And Cal, I expected them to be absolutely horrible, and I mean they just took Miami to the brink, and they've just been playing halfway decent football. Did y'all see the graphic? I don't know who made it, and I don't care who made it. Somebody posted a graphic on Twitter, and it said that Pitt has the best atmosphere in the state of Pennsylvania for a college football game.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've heard in my entire life.
I would question that person's sanity. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Unless you're talking about the Steelers, not the Panthers.
They might have the third best. Temple is also there.
Yeah. Have y'all been to a game at Heinz Field. Was it Acrisure now? I guess
It's Acrisure Stadium now. That one I have adjusted to. Not is it the JMA Wireless Dome for
that sounds
Syracuse?
right.
Is that
That
right?
sounds right. Yeah.
Okay.
Have y'all been to a game, a Pitt game up there?
Yeah,
I have not been
I
to a
have.
Pitt game up there. I hope to sometime in the next couple of years because I want to visit. I mean, a lot. I've had the plan to visit a lot of stadiums, but I've not been to one. No.
It'll come up in a later segment. I'll give my opinions on Pitt football. This one I took the under. I don't see a whole lot of scoring. I don't know anything about what the weather's going to be like. That would help me out a lot, but for whatever reason, I see defenses playing well, and 59.5 for the over under. I think that's a pretty big number, so I'm gonna take under 59.5 there. And just so everybody knows, to be up front, I am horrible at sports betting. So more times than not, if you just pick exactly the
No one's
opposite of
good at
whatever
it.
I pick, you'll be just fine. So that's Cal versus Pitt. Now I'll just go down my list. The next one I have is Ohio State versus Oregon. We got the I think that's the marquee. That's where game day is. I'm sure Big Noon's there. Barstool's probably there. Chase, what do you think?
If you asked me 3 weeks ago, Ohio State, but I'm gonna go with Oregon. I just have this. I could be totally wrong. I could be dead wrong. I probably am, but I just have this weird feeling about Oregon. I think you look at them. They've gotten better each game. They've looked a little more dominant. They've kind of got back to Oregon football, and I don't know. I can't figure. This one's a hard one for me, but I'm just going to go with Oregon. It's a night game in Oregon. I got them in a close one.
Josh, what do you think?
I think that Ohio State's the best team in the country here.
Ooh, really?
And oh yeah, and I said that at the beginning of the year, and thankfully this is not a national podcast, and it's not big either, so nobody will see me say that I don't think that Austin Stadium is that tough of a place to play. I think that Ohio State handles it very well. They played in much tougher atmospheres under Ryan Day. I think that they lose this game, it's because of Ryan Day. I think they can very easily win this game by 3 scores.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think that Texas and Ohio State are the two. They're 1A and 1B for me right now, and I think Oregon has kind of lucked their way into being the third ranked team in the country. They had a couple of snoozers early, and then they haven't really jumped off the page since. But when everybody at the top has been losing, especially last week, they just kind of when you start in the top 10 and you're undefeated after 5 or 6 weeks, and you're going to have number 3 team in the country. I don't know if they entirely deserve that ranking. I'd put them more around maybe 7 to 10 in a normal year, but it seems maybe kind of everybody sucks this year, so maybe they are the number 3 team in the country. But I think Ohio State and Texas have set themselves far ahead, and I have Ohio State and the points minus 3.5. Yep.
I'm very high on that Buckeye team. I think that I love Quinshon Judkins. I've seen again from Mississippi. I've gone to watch him play 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, and that receiver Jeremiah Smith, I believe he's a freshman.
Yeah, had those ridiculous catches against
Yeah.
Michigan State on the same drive, I think too.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's right. All right, so that's Ohio State, Oregon. Next, we'll go to Penn State and USC. It's Penn State minus 4.5. It's at USC, and our over/under is 48.5. Who you got, Chase?
Penn State. I think Penn State wins another sloppy, ugly game. I just USC. I don't like USC. I don't know if it's because I don't like Lincoln Riley, but I don't see USC doing anything. I don't think they're that good. I don't think Penn State that's great either. But that's why I think Penn State's gonna win an ugly, low scoring game. I got Penn State.
And that you just said why I have the under. what was the last game, like 22-11 against a halfway decent team.
UCLA.
Yeah,
27-11.
yeah,
That's
and
horrible.
Similar with Illinois, they played a couple weeks ago. I don't know if Penn State scored much over 30 this year at all. But yeah, I'm taking the under. They do have a good
They
defense.
have scored over 33 times.
Oh, there you go.
One time against the Power Conference team.
Bowling Green and Kent State. Probably
Yeah.
Kent State, the worst team in college football right now.
Yeah, so the two teams my bad there. The two teams that they've played with a pulse have been 21-7 and West Virginia, they're playing a little
West
bit
Virginia,
better.
yeah, they beat one Power. They scored 30 on one Power Conference team.
But yeah, recently, I guess. 27-11 against UCLA and 27-11 and 21-7 against Illinois. So yeah, I'm taking the under in this one. We got Josh.
Well, you have a Lincoln Riley defense at USC. You have a Penn State running back named Nick Singleton. Y'all have heard the name, I imagine, who is averaging almost 8 yards a carry. And Drew, is it Aller? Aller. Drew Aller's completing over 70% of his passes. I don't see a way that Penn State, unless it could be coaching holding them back, but Penn State should put up a good amount of points here. And I don't see USC competing in this game.
Yep. We got Chase. What, did we already do Chase? Oh, yeah, we already did Chase.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. All right, so that's Penn State and USC. We'll move on to our last one. We got Ole Miss -3.5 at LSU in Death Valley. Over under is 64.5. Chase, who you got?
Yeah. I got Ole Miss getting back on track. I think they're going to right the ship. If you look at LSU, I mean, who have they played? I mean, they played USC and lost in the first game. They played Nicholls State, South Alabama, and a shitty UCLA team. They're only really, I guess I don't know if you want to call it a decent win, but they did beat South Carolina. South Carolina should have won that game. But outside of that, 3 of the 5 teams they played are not good. So I haven't seen enough from LSU for me to pick them. I think Ole Miss, I think they keep it going. They're going to beat LSU.
Yep. Who you got, Josh?
I am a honorary Ole Miss fan. And I hate to say I'm not huge on Lane Kiffin, but because he can't win the big game, but I don't think that this is the big game. I think that comes when Georgia goes to Oxford, and I think that Ole Miss wins this game and pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this is a big bounce back spot for Ole Miss, and I think they're going to handle LSU. They're going to score a lot of points. I think this is a very high over under, and I think the over's probably pretty likely to hit here. But I'm taking Ole Miss in the points too. Ole Miss -3.5. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Yep. All right. Well, that's our picks for the week. And we'll I'll keep track of those, and next week on the podcast, and I'll probably put it out on socials. I'll keep our standings, and we'll go from there. So then Josh had an idea of one more segment just to do to go through each of us and say what has been our favorite and our least favorite Virginia Tech football games we've been to. So Josh, it's your idea. Why don't you go first?
I'm still quite a young fan. I haven't been to a ton of games since 2017. Before this past year at NC State, I had not been to a Tech game since game day against Clemson. So it was a while. I missed out on a lot of those terrible losses. Fortunately, I think that the best game I've been to was that 2017 win against West Virginia at FedEx Field. That was I went with my mom, traveled up from Mississippi, stayed in D.C. That was a absolutely electric atmosphere.
I agree.
And I think the worst that I've been to, in all honesty, like I mentioned, I was at that JMU game, but I was 4. I think the worst that I've been to was honestly that Rutgers game 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago
That was the most
now.
frustrating for me.
Coming back down 2 scores, I brought some friends from, so far in Southwest Virginia that you're damn near in Tennessee. Some friends came in. I told them like, oh yeah, like this Tech team, we lost to Vandy, but we're still a good football team. And we come out and drop a dud for 3.5 quarters, and then come back and still lose that game. And that was just not a good time for me.
Yeah. Chase, what you got?
The I'll start with the best. The best game. It's got to be the 6 overtime win against Carolina. I think I was there with my buddy, and we actually took the party bus over there. There was a big place. I'm from Richmond, so there was a big party bus leaving Richmond. So that bus ride back to Richmond was it was awesome. Like people were taking shots, and it was great. That game was the most stressful but awesome experience I think I've ever been a part of. So that's got to be hands down the best one that I've attended. The worst, I'm trying to think. If I had to pick one, I don't know if it was. I think it was 2021 when Notre Dame came to town, and we just choked. I mean, we were up again. We were up what, 2 possessions, I think, and they went down the field. They tied it up. We still had a chance to win the game. I think we went 3 and out, gave them the ball back, and they still won with a field goal in regulation. It went from like, oh my God, we're going to beat Notre Dame, to how did we just lose to Notre Dame? That was probably one of the worst that I think I've been to.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was coming off of that loss at West Virginia, where like we fell from, I want to say, the 15th ranked team in the country to unranked. Everyone thought like this team is not bad.
Yeah.
And then we show it against Notre Dame, and Jermaine Waller has that pick 6. I remember losing it in I lost it in a carport garage with a bunch of friends. But yeah, that one was rough. And we thought like, yeah, we move over to 4-1. Now we have 2 wins at home against top 10 teams, and end up choking out one way. That one was rough.
Is that the season Fuente got fired? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, because we lost to Notre Dame in a heartbreaker, and then we lost to Pitt at home, 28-7. I don't really remember that game, but then the one I do remember, we lost in similar fashion to the Notre Dame game, was Syracuse. And if that is not when he got fired, it was shortly thereafter.
It was after the Duke game.
Got it. Yep. Oh, it was after a win. Yeah, I remember that.
It was after, I want to say, a 45-17 win. Is that right?
48-17. Yep.
48-17.
Yep. So for mine, I think my best one, I had the UNC 6 overtime one first. That one's up there. But I'll say a different one since Chase took that one. I took Arkansas. I was at that Belk Bowl when we were down 24-0 at halftime, and it was funny. I actually took one of my buddies who's not a Virginia Tech fan, from Blacksburg. We drove down from Blacksburg to Charlotte. Weren't staying. We're going home afterwards. It was a late game. I think it was like a 6 or 7 o'clock game. Got to halftime. We were down 24-0, and of course, he was like, "Dude, come on, like let's go home. Like this, they're not going to win anything." And I'm the type that I do not leave football games early. But this one, I was considering it, because we were 3 or 4 hours from Blacksburg, 2.5, 3 hours from Blacksburg. Game was going to be over at 10 or 11 o'clock. But I told him, I was like, if we get down by 30, if they come out and score another touchdown, we'll go home. And he was like, sure, whatever. And, well, sure enough, we ended up staying until the end of the game. And it was – I mean,
I remember that game like it was yesterday.
So we started up underneath of the lights, like way up in Bank of America Stadium. And then we saw a section that was just empty down in the lower bowl in one of the end zones. Well, about halfway through the second quarter, we were like, hell with it. Let's go try it. Like, let's just act like we know what we're doing and go sit down in there and see what happens. Well, we sat down there the rest of the game, and that happened to be the end zone where Gerard Evans ran through the line with late in the game to take the lead. And
that's great.
That was something else. And then for worst games, I mean, y'all have been fortunate for which worst games you've been to, because there's been a lot, and I've been to a lot.
Oh, there's been bad ones.
So I've got 4 or 5 that I want to mention. I was at both Duke and Carolina in 2015. If they weren't both overtime games, I think the Duke game was like a 4 overtime game, and the Carolina game was a 1 or 2.
Those were both overtime games.
I was at both.
I was at both of those too.
Yep, those hurt a lot.
Yeah, those ones slipped my mind. Duke was, I want to say, 3 overtimes.
The Duke game might have been one of the most fun I've ever had at a game. Because, I mean, I don't remember the circumstances, but I just remember going crazy in the stands that whole game.
Up and down, yeah, that was great. And that reminded me of one thing. I was at the 2016 Pitt game, the goal line stand.
Mm-hmm.
When we had the ball up 20-14, we thought the game was over because the scoreboard had shown that Pitt had no timeouts up on the jumbotron. So like, okay, yeah, we're gonna kneel the ball out. We left and listened to that game on the radio while we were sitting in the parking lot where the across from the cookout on South Main.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and the Kroger parking lot.
The Kroger parking lot.
Yep.
I was so mad that I missed that.
Yep.
I was at that game.
That one I had every opportunity to go to. I declined to go because it was somewhere right around the start of deer season. So I went. I was watching that game. I was watching that game on my phone in a deer blind, kicking myself for not going. So then I've got 2 more, and I think they're both about rock bottoms for the program. I was at the Pitt game in, I want to say, 2017, 2018-ish, where that's the one where the boy ran for like 300 yards or something. We got beat like 50-10. Like it was cold. It was miserable. It was a good trip. Like we made a good time out of it, but that game was just abysmal. And then I was at the Duke game in 2019 where we got beat like 45-10.
Oh, that's rough.
In my mind, that's rock bottom for the program. That's where we bottomed out. And
that was rock bottom, absolutely.
And then it turned it around, brought Jerry Kill in, and ended up having a decent year. But yeah, that one, getting blown out by Duke at home, that one hurt. That one was not, the drive home was not very fun.
Quadre Allison.
Was that the running back that went off?
Name. Mm-hmm. 14.7 yards per carry. That was 2017.
At Pitt?
At Pitt.
What was the final score? Was it 56 to something?
52-22.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't remember we scored that much. That one I was at with my mother, who is a UVA fan. One of my buddies that Chase actually played golf against, he's a UVA fan, and my dad, who hates going to football games, and it was about 20 degrees. And I think we did leave that one. I think my dad left after like the first quarter to go to a casino. And then we ended up
beautiful.
Wow.
We ended up staying until like the end of the third quarter or something. But yeah, that's one of the very few games that I've left early. I was at the Notre Dame game where we got beat 45-0 or whatever it was, 40-0. I stayed till zeros on that one. The Clemson game, I think the same year, we got blown the hell out at home. I stayed for all of it. Like, I don't leave games early, but that one, they talked me into leaving early.
I was wrong. It was 2018. And I mentioned Quadre Allison. They also had Darren Hall. Those two combined for 23 carries for, let me do math here for a second, 400 and I'm not great at mental math. 21 yards. 421 yards on 23 carries.
Every time they got the ball, they were gone. Every time they got that ball. It was the most like, what the hell is happening? I mean, I remember that game so clearly.
Yep.
For some reason, I don't recall this one. I thought you were talking about in 2020. I thought you just completely whiffed on it and were thinking about 2022 when Izzy Abanikanda just ran for
Pitts,
I think it was
yeah.
360 something yards
I
and
remember that
7 touchdowns.
Yep. No, Pitts ran all over
That
us a couple
one
times.
That one was I don't like that school.
Was that
We've had several examples.
do you have was that like November 19th, 2020, something like that?
I can check. Let's
My
see.
sister got married.
November 10th of the Pitt game 52-22?
No. The 2020 one.
Okay. You mean 2022?
No, no, I'm wrong there. There was one in 2020. I don't remember exactly what game it was. The only reason I remember is because this day my sister got married, and I would stop by and check it out every now and then, and it wasn't a very good game.
We lost to Pitt 47-14 on the 21st of November 21st of 2020.
That's probably the one I'm thinking of. Yep.
God,
Yep,
that
so
was
yeah,
after we
been...
lost to Liberty and Miami in back-to-back weeks.
That was
Lord, that was rough.
Yep. The life of a Virginia Tech fan. So.
Yeah, let's get back to happy thoughts here.
Yep.
Hopefully,
let's get back to happy thoughts. Yeah,
we've got some hope right now, and hopefully we have three good wins coming up before a big showdown against Clemson. Yep. All right. Well, I think that's all we got. We're about an hour and 15 minutes in. Do y'all have any final thoughts?
I don't think so.
Cool.
Go Hokies, and let's keep winning.
Yeah. Hey, beat by.
Amen.
Let's go 0-0
beat
this
by.
week. Yeah. So yeah, like, subscribe. It's going to go up primarily on YouTube for the video, but I'll also get it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music. I should have it most anywhere anybody consumes their podcast. But yeah, like, subscribe, give us a follow on socials, and I think I'm gonna try it. Hopefully we can get a little mailbag section going. I'll put a post up on Twitter/X, and y'all can leave some questions for us, and we'll go from there.
I like to hear it.
Sweet. All right. Well, I'm gonna stop recording here.